Hello and welcome to a very special Terrace talk on the Toon Terrace channel. We are with Duncan, who is a familiar face to the channel, and well, I'll let you introduce yourself, Ian.
You just did. That's must be name. Yeah, I'm Ian Pearson-Brown, and I am the founder of United with Pride, the LGBTQ plus inclusive fans group for Newcastle United Football Club.
Now, just as we're getting talking, obviously this is all about getting the visibility up there, getting people to know a little bit more and to understand why was it that you decided to start up United with Pride?
So it's based on my personal experiences of I grew up as that typical sports mad Geordie kid, absolutely in love with Newcastle United. And when I was 13, I realised I was gay. I suddenly thought that you couldn't be gay and love football and love sports and things like that because there was a lack of role models at the time, a lack of visibility in the sport to show it was LGBT inclusive. So ended up trying to be a fan and have mates go on the ground, but having to hide my sexuality and having to hide that part of us wherever I went in sport. So I was closeted in sport till about I was about age 30 when I decided I'm going to come out. I work in sport. I came out in sport. I came out to the people who I sat with around in the stadium, who I'd sat next to for years. I told them about my boyfriend, and they were all fine with it and all good. And I suddenly thought to myself, well, perhaps sport is more inclusive than we realise, and all it takes is a little bit of people talking about it and a little bit of visibility work, and other people can have an easier journey through, supporting a football club like Newcastle United than perhaps I did, having spent a long time hiding my sexuality and having mental health problems around that.
Thank you for that. Now, what I just want to do is just turn to Duncan, because obviously Duncan he's based in the northeast, as we can tell by his accent. Yeah, it's not something that you can hide. But Duncan, what was it that you felt? Yeah, the reason why you wanted to join?
United with Pride. So yeah, for me, this the whole journey started in 2019, 2020. So I had a really good friend called Joe Wyatt, who a lot of people involved will know who Joe is. So I've known Joe for nearly a decade, like nearly 10 years. And when COVID came, we was in lockdowns. I was joining Gay Gooners on their quizzes and stuff like that. And it was after a couple of weeks or months that Joe said to me, "You do know there's a Newcastle group," and introduced me to Ian and texted Ian and got involved with the group. And that's kind of how I kind of got involved in the group and the community and the the online things and the warmth and the friendship. And there was a few things that went on, and in terms of getting more involved with United with Pride, and yeah, I truly loved it. And I've supported Newcastle. I think this is my 28th year. I was 14 when I first went to St James's Park. So for me, when I never really went to St James's Park for the last, from the age of 14 to 38, I probably went up a handful of times because I was on my own. Ever since that introduction to Ian and United with Pride, I genuinely have a group of friends in the northeast that's enabled me to go up on my own, spend time up there, and even as far as to now get a season ticket, travel up once a month, and not be on my own. So for me, it's the last 3 years have just been a real kind of a real good journey, and full of friendship, and I've made some really, really good friends that I would consider friends for life. So that's kind of my story.
And that's why we started the group. It was primarily to allow people to socialise who perhaps and meet sort of like-minded fans, so that they could perhaps not have to go to a match day on their own. I mean, our fans group has got people from around the globe, people from America, people from Sweden, Spain, Australia, who've connected online, but the people who regularly meet up before and after a match, none of us knew each other before the group was set up. So and your story, Duncan, is quite a common one for our group, where perhaps had had a disconnect with football, particularly with various incidents of homophobia or stereotyping and stigmas that surround football. It's very easy to put off LGBT fans from going to games, and we wanted to try and change that and make sure that whatever else was happening in the game, we'd create that safe space for people to come, socialise, and be able to connect with the sport again.
Thank you. Just one, obviously, a comment from Black Mamba. Being LGBTQ myself, good on you, Ian, for coming out. It takes lots of courage and will to come out, and for your mate support you is all. And I can't even read that. You can all see what's on there.
Put your teeth
I
back
can't
in.
speak. Don't know why I can't speak today, but no, you can all see that. And it's great that you're actually able to see that and to do, because I know obviously you're a regular for this. You're always in here. You're always commenting on there. I also know on your social media you're very, very supportive of Joel and his well, I would say probably quite good news stories this week, because he's been on the ball with both Harvey Barnes and Livramento there. So yeah, well done on him. But it is that, and that's the case now. The one thing which I just wanted to do is just move on and just ask there is, what do you think still needs? Because I'm sure you'll agree that there has been improvements, but what do you still think is the work that needs to be done in football?
So I'm fortunate enough to sit on the inclusion advisory group for Newcastle United. So I get to work within the United as one team, this little badge here, around all aspects of diversity and inclusion. But my remit is to make sure that LGBTQ plus people are made safe in football. And I think the biggest issue at the moment around Newcastle United, because the home games, the stadium has changed so much in terms of the diversity of people who go. We've got hundreds of people who go with these scarves that we've given or sold to people who either wear them as LGBT fans or as allies. That visibility, which is great. We see a lot more fans of different cultures, different backgrounds, different religious backgrounds. We see a lot more women go to the game. So the mix of people going to a home game is changed a lot, and I think that really helps to cut down on misogyny, racism, homophobia, etc., because there's more people who are probably going to be likely to call it out. However, I would say the away contingent perhaps is a less diverse audience currently. And I went to 2 away games last season, and unfortunately I had to report the first game I had to report racist and homophobic abuse, which occurred within earshot of 60 or 70 Newcastle fans, and nothing was done about it. And it was similar at Wembley, unfortunately, where somebody was screaming sort of ableist slurs at the slurs against people who may have a disability or have special educational needs throughout the game, just screaming these words at the ref, at the away fans and the other fans and such like. And for me, it's not the fact that these individuals are there doing that; it's more the fact that there's a lack of people around them willing to pull them up on it. And I think it's that very tribal mentality. I mean, our away fans are excellent, generally speaking. They get the passion across brilliantly, and they usually walk that fine line between being passionate but also being respectful of people. But I think if somebody does say or do something in the away games, I think it is kind of nobody talks about it. So I think that needs to be tackled. I think one of the things, obviously, to help make that happen is perhaps to introduce something like a ballot for away tickets for a small minority of the tickets. So keep the point system by all means, but that point system has contributed to this lack of diversity in away fans, that lack of opportunity for more people from different backgrounds to be able to go to away games. So it'd be great if they did introduce something that allowed more people who haven't been to away games before, more women, more people of colour, more LGBT fans, rather than the same people who have been going for 20, 30 years. Because it is that sort of herd mentality that unfortunately discrimination can thrive in. So for me, that's the biggest challenge going forward now.
Yeah, so, you had to bring up the hot topic of away ticketing.
What it is?
Everyone's trying to keep away from that. One of which I will just in it. This is from, like I said, I've had a similar experience at a Man City game where obviously we did hear, what we class as was a homophobic comment, and this was coming from a small child.
Mm.
The dad didn't correct it.
Yeah.
And that's because you know fine well that it's the parent that led that attitude to have.
Mm.
But on the other hand, and this is where I probably felt proud in that, is there was a particular fan who did make a racist comment to another fan. And I will say that everyone in that particular training carriage where it happened basically turned around and says, take that Newcastle top off because you're not one of us.
Mm.
And that's what I'm saying. There is people who will not say anything,
Mm-hmm.
but there are those that do. And that's where, like I said, for me, I seen both ends as obviously the part where nothing was said, but then a train carriage where everyone said, you're not one of us, get out. And that was great to see there, because there is people who are willing to stick up there. And I think more people do need to do that. Yeah, and it's not
I wish some of those people had been on the Newcastle United coach coming back from Anfield that had pulled up this lad who was racist towards some Chinese fans who were on the street, and then homophobic towards another set of fans before getting off the bus, confronting them, and then getting back on. And so everybody knew who this person was. Everybody on the bus, 60, 70 people on the bus, and yet nobody heard or saw anything when the police followed it up. So it amazes me that people are still happy to take the risk, because if you're that sort of protective of your loyalty points, if you like, then why on earth would you take the risk? Because if you are actually found, proven that you've done something discriminatory or said something discriminatory, even if you think it's harmless, it will be a 3-year stadium ban, and you'll lose all your points. So that's to be fair, under the current system, of course, it might not be that individual it might not be their ticket, it might be handed over, in which case somebody else loses that point.
Exactly.
So,
and it might be that that person who's went is part of the group in that, and therefore they're like, oh well, I don't want to say anything because then so and so will be losing his ticket. That's where I think more ID checks will come into away ticketing, and I think that would be a good thing, because you'll root out, because the people who are probably doing this probably are the ones that have just bought a ticket and don't have the loyalty point, and that's why they're fine to be like that and take the risk, because they know that it's not going to come back to them.
I mean, at the end of the day, for the Anfield game, I had a ticket because a friend of a friend of a friend had managed to get them and then passed them on, and I ended up going. And it's like, I have no idea who the person was who I got the tickets off. Now, if I do something that I shouldn't be doing, and I get done for it or whatever, presumably that's them as the ticket holder in trouble as well, because it's down in their name, in their ticket. So it's not worth the risk. If you're going to give your ticket to somebody, you want them to be registered with Newcastle United so that it's them that are accountable, not you. So I'm with the e-ticketing thing. I think it's a good idea. I think having these ID checks, I think it'll help. I work a lot with Northumbria Police, but other police forces as well, when we discuss the issue with reporting for discriminatory comments in grounds and such like. And it's not easy to get those prosecutions. And that's one of the reasons why, is that the person who sat in the seat might not be the person whose name is on the ticket. So that makes it harder again. So I suspect, and I think it's a good thing, that the e-ticketing will change that.
Well, you did actually. I was going to say that's what I was going to bring up. It's the fact that, do you think that the e-ticketing will actually help cut down maybe the number of comments that are happening, because of the fact that the club will know who it is that's sitting in that particular seat?
100%. So where I live down here in London, Arsenal, Tottenham have been doing it for 3 years now, and it cuts out, because the way that I see the away ticket in some clubs working is, it's a bit like a cartel. Is they buy, 10 away tickets, they put on a bus, they sell those tickets on, they're unnamed, the people can do what they want. Whereas now, if I want to sell my season ticket to somebody to go in my place, or gift my season ticket to somebody that will go in my place, I have to have their name, and I have to know who's in that seat, because if they play up or do anything, it's me that's responsible for that person. Whereas up until whenever this new away season ticket system gets released, that person with your away ticket is completely anonymous. Like, and that is for 70% of Premier League clubs. So digital ticketing, I've been calling for it for about 2 years. That is totally the way forward. It's safer, it's more responsible, it stops ticket touts. It's just so much better.
To be fair though, Duncan, you were probably the most rowdy out of the people that were sitting in your seat last season.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I sat next to you, Duncan, and there was one game I was having to catch you every time you stood up, pretty much. Don't call you Duncan disorderly for nothing, you know.
Just make a note of that. It'll never happen again.
Now, one thing which I just wanted to come and bring it on to, it's obviously because, especially from the picture that was used for the thumbnail for the YouTube, was obviously the flag, which was done by War Flags. Now, there has been quite a lot of partnership work done with War Flags. How important do you think it is having a group like War Flags that has like a great visibility in the stadium and in the city? How what's it like being able to work with them and get the visibility through them?
Well, first of all, War Flags are an unbelievable set of volunteers who do a magnificent job, and possibly the best at what they do in the world. And I think we should be really proud of them, regardless. But as it happens, they're also fantastic allies. They get that the messaging they put across can often represent the entire city, and I would like to think of Newcastle United as a very open and welcoming city to people from all backgrounds. So they do. Messaging around sort of social justice issues occasionally, and it includes supporting us at United with Pride, which they've done 2 or 3 times before. We're in talks for them to do a large display this season around the Rainbow Laces fixture to coincide with that. We've been talking with them about doing some sort of mural in and around the area of the scene on the way in through St James's Boulevard, to be able to do something that's Newcastle United but also LGBT related, something that can use the art on the walls for, which would just add to the messaging of diversity within our city and how welcoming we are as a city towards people of different backgrounds. So they are fantastic, and I like to say, doing it all around full-time jobs, and such like, and actually want to watch the games themselves. They give up so much, and I can't thank them enough for the things that they've done to help myself and other members of United with Pride throughout the last 4 years.
It's great, and I think we all echo the work that War Flags do. None more so than obviously the last display for the Leicester game, which was just unreal again. And you just, when you think, they've hit the peak, like they did with the Arsenal game, they go, actually, no, we're going to go.
Like a piece of art, wasn't it? It was like a piece of art. It was incredible.
And I think we've got to be excited to what they may have planned for Champions League games.
Yeah. Oh yeah. How are they going to top? I always question how on earth can they top this? And somehow they managed to keep doing it.
I'm still hoping that they do, now that we've got this seller involved, get lasers in, get drones. War Flags now, do a drone show. That's what you want.
Just not a spider camera, that's all, because they've been bad luck for us so far. And if that spider camera's been there, we lost the game.
Oh, you're talking of spider cams. The Amazon thing comes out at the end of August, doesn't it?
Oh, the Amazon Prime behind the scenes thing.
The date that I've had rumoured to be is the 11th of August, which would probably be a good thing because it would coincide with the start of the season. So you think they'll probably do it, the season start, and why not get yourself in the mood by watching Amanda Staveley, Darren Eales, all those behind the scenes and that. Now, obviously, we have mentioned Amanda Staveley. We have mentioned that now. Something which I don't like mentioning his name on this podcast, but something that didn't really happen during the Ashley reign, which was open and visible support from the ownership. You have had that from Amanda and Mehrdad, yeah, how important is it to see them embracing?
So the club from top to bottom, from Darren Eales as well. We've had the thing is that these people are all sort of very well educated, come from a university background, come from Western cultures, and are used to have grown up in that inclusive and tolerant environment. So they are very much on board with the message that it's we aren't a part of Saudi Arabia. We are Newcastle United Football Club. We are independent of that, and our values as a club is that of being friendly, welcoming to people of all backgrounds, and they are really on board with that. In fact, before they took before the takeover occurred, we knew behind the scenes that they were very much they really liked the United as One campaign, the branding behind it, the work that we're doing with the foundation. In addition, it's obviously that's why they really support the women's team as well, and have really pushed for them. And I was delighted to see that we're now going to have a full-time professional women's team. That's excellent news. I expect that to go from strength to strength. But yeah, I mean, this year Newcastle United is sponsoring Northern Pride, which is happening over this weekend. They're sponsoring the main stage. So the main stage is called the United as One stage, where all the performers that are booked in for Northern Pride will be, belting out tunes to a rain-soaked crowd, including a step. Lisa Scott Lee's there, isn't she? So not all of steps, just one step. But it should be a good weekend, and as with last year, Newcastle United are going to have staff there, Foundation are going to be there, United with Pride are going to be there, the food bank's going to be there, the war flags are going to give us, are going to come on the march with us, so we're going to get all the flags out and march them round the middle of Newcastle. So make sure if you're in town tomorrow, you stop and take some photographs. Joining some was the chance, because I think it's something really liberating. It's great to have the atmosphere inside St James's Park, but to be able to take those flags and those chants and that atmosphere a little bit around the city is something quite empowering, quite special.
Yeah, agree.
Now, obviously, you mentioned that, and we've done a lot about the visibility and obviously pride and everything like that. Let's go for a little bit something, not a hard-hitting question. Well, not just yet. But we'll do that.
How then, Paxman, hit me with it.
If you could pick any of the Newcastle United squad to be, let's say, an ambassador for who would you want?
Oh, that's a very good question. So it's a very, very good question. I think I would like it to be a young player, so someone who is sort of like, because a lot of the work we do is to ensure that the younger generation of fans are able to have those role models to look up to. So I think somebody who is a younger player. So what would that leave us as? Like Joe Willock, perhaps, or I'm trying to think. Well, obviously Botman's quite young as well.
Anthony Gordon.
Anthony Gordon, yeah. I guess purely from an injury point of view, I suppose having someone like Sven Botman sort of be an ally would probably be ideal, because he's what you would class as somebody who's perhaps heteronormative, quite straight acting, looking, and such like, bit of a hard man centre back. I think that would be good to dispel a lot of the stereotypes and stigmas around being gay. Whereas if you've got Anthony Gordon, who's quite sort of skinny, fast, with the sort of wavy blonde hair, I think you're kind of buying into a stereotype a little bit there. And I guess my ideal sort of role model ambassador would be somebody who perhaps would make people sit up and think, oh, I wouldn't have expected that person to have supported that cause. So I guess Sven Botman would be ideal.
Good choice. Jimmy didn't go for Bruno.
I want to ask you that question, actually. Go on. Who would you have? I want to ask Duncan that question, because I want to know what you said that one.
Mark, you first.
I would actually go with Kieran Trippier, and that's purely because of the
He's
fact
done
that
stuff.
he's the captain, he's the leader, yeah, he's the book. He was the player who came to us and sat, who put the trust in Newcastle United and went, no, I'm going to trust that you are going to stay up and that you are going to get better. And I just think the voice that he has within the city and the respect that he has, I think that would hold a lot of weight if there's a group you can turn around and say, yeah, we've got Kieran Trippier. This is a man who's willing to stand with us and say, yeah, come on, walk with us rather than be against us.
Well, I mean, he has done visibility work before, so he's handed his captain's armband over to in a beautiful glass case over to our co-chairs this season. After the Rainbow Laces game, he met them, he spent some time talking to them, and then that is now gone in display in St James's Park. So he got involved with that. We've had Jamal Lascelles do things with us in the past, and Carl Darlow as well. So there's already people in the squad who've helped us out without necessarily being a full-on ambassador, but have done work to support our cause. So we've already got people there.
And talking about youth, if my memory serves me correct, Kel Watt.
Yes, sorry, I missed Kel.
Yeah.
He's got involved in one of our videos during lockdown before.
Great surname as well. We're not related.
So who would be Duncan's ideal ambassador?
For my two penneth, I would go Callum Wilson. Only because of his social profile with the BBC podcast with Mikel Antonio, which is an absolute, if you've not listened to it, the back catalogue is just hilarious. Those two guys are hilarious. And I just think if you look at like Jordan Henderson and stuff that he's done, you need somebody that's not only just a footballer and a pinnacle member of the football team, you need somebody that's out there in the media. And Callum Wilson is a top bloke. He's hilarious on that podcast. He's natural. He's endearing, and he does work with other people from other clubs like Big Mick at West Ham and stuff like that. So I would go Callum Wilson.
I just point out Harvey Barnes did a lot of work with the Proud Foxes at Leicester Football Club. He did quite some extensive work with them. So we know he's an ally, and obviously, hopefully, if he's not already signed, he's signed too. Not try and curse it.
Not officially, but yeah.
Not officially, but he's been up there. He's been at the training ground. He's been at St James's Park. Yeah. Fingers crossed that we also get Tino Livramento when they're both there. We'll go with one fun one there, just to because we are in the transfer window and the season hasn't kicked off. I want one signing that you would love to see Newcastle United make this season.
So the ones I would have liked to have seen have already gone. In terms of, I would have loved, because I thought Declan Rice was unbelievable at St James's Park and also and in previous seasons, and I just thought, oh, how great would he be? It's so like I say, the ones that I was hoping would get have actually gone elsewhere and have gone to sort of like clubs that are higher up the league than us. So I'm a little bit. I'm okay with it, but now you've caught us out with this. Who would be my ideal signing at the moment? I mean, we need a centre back. I guess Van Dijk. It's from Liverpool. We'll get him back on form. An experienced defender. I think we need an experienced centre back at the moment. Preferably a right-sided centre back. I think obviously if we get a left back in, I think centre back's the other cover option. I know I'm going to popular this. I would take Maguire because I think he would play a lot better for us under Eddie than being captain of Manchester United. I think that was a bit too much on his shoulders, and I think with all the social media around him, I think he shows for England when he escapes all that. He's actually a good centre defender who's won the Premier League. So I can't believe I'm going to say this. He's not my ideal signing, but I would take probably. I would love to have Virgil van Dijk, but more realistically, Harry Maguire's probably available for a reasonable price. So I guess he would be my realistic remaining signing if we get Harvey Barnes and if we get a left back. I guess he would be the end to a pretty decent transfer window.
Yeah.
And Duncan, you?
Well, I saw some things on various media outlets about Bonucci from Juve. Rather than going to Saudi Arabia, there was talk of Bonucci at 37 coming to Newcastle. I would have that all day long. So you just look at his stats. He's an absolute, in the Champions League, in the games, he would coach the young staff. Bonucci is phenomenal. So that would, like your Harry Maguire, I would go, if we could get Bonucci, I'd have Bonucci for one season at 37 all day. The other thing, left back, is Kieran Trippier right or left? Not Kieran Trippier, Kieran Tierney, right or left?
Left.
So I go Tierney, and I think we need a goalkeeper as well to work alongside Pope, because Lloris and Darlow, I'm sorry, they're just not. You can't put that much pressure on Pope. Champions League, FA Cup, League Cup, Premier League, you need another goalkeeper.
Right. Can we just point out that Loris Karius has played for Liverpool in a Champions League final?
Yeah,
so you're talking about pressure.
Absolutely horrendous.
He has concussion.
He shouldn't have been played.
Yeah, but I'm going to defend Karius on that one because I actually think he's been.
No, he's good. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm saying I would have Karius over Darlow, but I just think if we get Tierney, Bonucci would come on. What kind
Bonucci would be like a Thiago Silva
stature would that be in? Yeah,
we're talking about needing to replace Fabian Shaw, and you're talking about replacing him with someone who's about 5 years older than him.
No, not to replace anyone. So you'd keep your two centre backs, but you'd have Bonucci on the training ground. You'd have him in the Champions League games. He is an absolute, like he might be 37, but Christ,
that's why we're keeping.
He ain't like the
Matt Ritchie here,
is he?
And Trippier and even Jamal Lascelles. Yeah, in that extent, I'm going to go a little bit different.
Pirlo, Bonucci, Matt Ritchie, Julian Dix, Razor Ruddock.
He's just now. He's just.
Pirlo. We've got the reincarnation of Pirlo already signed. He's over in America.
We have.
Yeah, that's true.
I
get where you come from, Duncan, because I would have said you were crazy to sign a 37-year-old, but there are so many players who are just playing brilliantly, even at the age they're at. Like I say, Silva is Thiago for Chelsea. Is he 39? Is he nearly 40?
He's heading that way, but yeah, I was going to go a different way because the fact is, both Livramento and Trippier can play left back. So in that sense, you've got that. But I was going with it a different way, and I'm looking at it because I know that we are going to have constraints with FFP. Lewis Hall from Chelsea, left back, young. Really, really sort of like well thought of in the game, and that I just think you bring him in, might not necessarily start him, you might still put Target out there who's still good enough, in games. I just think him, and when we're talking about bringing someone in younger in there as on a loan from Man City, Taylor Harwood-Bellis. Again, these are names that not many people will know.
Yeah,
but they're like quality, they're top class. And that's what we need to be looking at. Yeah. Why not say, right, okay, we'll bring Livramento in, we'll brought Harvey Bond in, we'll brought Tonali in. Now we'll bring a couple of younger lads in who can be part of the first team squad, but are maybe loan deals.
Yeah, we have to offload some of our dead wood, don't we, really? I mean, we've got to clear some space in the
squad. I was gutted about Alan St. Maximin as well. Like that is a real heartbreaker, and I feel that he might be loaned back to us in January because he's very homesick. I do feel that coming over over the
Well,
horizon.
that was my thought. I was like, could it not one of this thing? Oh, we're going to sell you to Al Ali. Oh no! Oh well, yeah, but after the winning back, yes.
Yeah,
No,
January.
I think he'll
so
love it out
homesick.
there. I think
I
Oh, of
do.
course he will.
because
I'm not also
that
sure whether or
classic-
not his religion. Yeah, because I don't know whether or not he's Muslim in that. And if he is, then that country probably suits his religion. In that, I'm not sure whether or
I
not
was
he is,
thinking more
but
in terms of his best performances for Newcastle United when it's been all about him as the central figure. He's dragging the team through these games under Bruce Ball. You know, it's all about him coming on to the impact sub or whatever it is. It's when he's the centre of attention. That's when he plays the best. When the team around him are playing well, and it's not just about him, it's about the other good players who are playing around him. I think he's quite often found wanting, and he's very inconsistent anyway. But I think he'll be that big fish in a small pond in Saudi Arabia much better than be a small fish in the
you're
Premier
saying
League.
that, but he's joining a side that's already signed Roberto Firmino and is signing Riyad Mahrez as well.
Yeah,
that's very true. But still, overall, the whole league, he's going to be a big fish compared to the Premier League, where he's a very small fish.
And the amount of physical pressure on himself in the Premier League, which he had a couple of injuries last season before that, he was out for a couple of weeks. He won't have that immense physical pressure to perform in the Saudi Pro League. So he won't get as many injuries. He's probably on 75 grand a week at Newcastle. He's now probably on 300 grand a week. So he's earning more than Harry Kane playing for a Saudi Pro League. The weather's great. He's from the south of France anyway, so he loves the hot weather. But I do believe, let's just see how this Saudi.
Are you saying that there's no hot weather up in Newcastle?
There's not really, no. But I do think he'll get loaned back in Jan if he's really homesick. I do think they'll give him back.
I think he'll be fine there. I think he'll really enjoy having the time on the ball to attack defences. I mean, you've mentioned he's going to be playing amongst some other good strikers, but he'll be playing against defences that are not Premier League defences.
Completely inferior.
He's going to have a field day against some of them because
I also think
doesn't get in the Premier League.
Yeah, and the pace over in Saudi isn't going to be up to the level.
Nowhere near the Premier League.
You look at what the result was when we went over there and we played a friendly. I can't remember who it was against. I think maybe Al Ali or something like that. And we ended up beating them. Was it like 5-1 or something like that? And we didn't even have I think Callum Wilson was missing, Bruno was missing, Trippier was missing in that. Yeah, and you're looking at
all of Alan ASM's game is about explosive power and transition of power to speed, and you need that in the Premier League all the time, even against central defenders like Virgil van Dijk at 6'4". But in the Saudi league, he's going to have all that power and speed, and he's not going to need to deploy it every minute that he's on the ball. So I think he'll do well, but it's just tremendously sad that he's got to leave, and everybody. Saudi didn't approach him. I think we offered him to Saudi Arabia. That's the thing, that he's the only transfer that we offered up. Every other transfer, I think the Saudi league came to the club and said, "We want your player."
Yeah, I think that was it. I think it was more a case of that, because I don't really think the club. And I'm going to say this: everyone's saying, "Oh, but yeah." Eddie says he doesn't want to go. If Eddie Howe really did not want to lose Alan St-Maximin would still
trade
be
off for Harvey Barnes.
United.
You see exactly what he's saying. Yeah, no, totally.
I think the manager would always want, to keep all the players if they could and then just add more. But the reality is you've got to balance your squad and also balance FFP.
That's the thing, because
Maximin is
we're probably getting the money up front from Maxi, whereas with other clubs, you're probably not. With Saudi, you probably are.
Over 3-4
and that'll
years,
help us, because that then means we get the money straight away, which can then help us, because we're getting that 35 million or 40 million or whatever in one whack. That helps us, because it means the amortization, let's say Harvey Barnes' contract, let's say that's over 5 years, you're then looking at maybe 6 million this season in terms of the financial aspect of it. To be fair, I'm absolutely buzzing that we're signing Harvey Barnes. I'm actually happier that we're signing him rather than Maddison. And I know that's stupid to say, but I actually just think Harvey Barnes is younger, and it for me, like I said, I'm excited about that. I'm excited with Team Livramento. To be honest, I'm excited about Tonali. Yeah, and I've only watched 45 minutes of him on the stream for the Rangers game, but he looks amazing.
Yeah, he does. He does.
But no, I'm just going to wrap it up with a simple question: it's a yes and no to both of you. And we'll start with Duncan this time. Will we be back at Wembley this season?
Funny enough, I was having this conversation with two friends today that I think it will be an absolute repeat of the League Cup final, Man United, Newcastle at Wembley. So I'm going to stick some money on that. But I think League Cup final again. This time they'll win it. But for me, fighting for the Champions League is going to be the biggest challenge and the most important thing that we need to do. So ideally, FA Cup, Premier League. We're not going to win the Premier League, but if we can get to League Cup final again, and if it's Man United again, that will be, history has a strange way of repeating itself with football. But for me, that'd be great. But qualifying top 4 is the most important thing now for this club in terms of moving forward, revenue, FFP. We need to hold on to that Champions League place. It's going to be really tough, really tough. Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, Tottenham. There's 7 teams. Aston Villa people are talking about. There's 7, 8 teams there, and there's only 4 places. So it's going to be tough. So for me, League Cup final, Champions League, 3rd or 4th would be an absolute better season than last.
That's the longest yes or the longest no that I've heard, and I'm still not sure whether or not it was a yes or a no. But we'll just move on.
I was trying to work out, was that a yes or a no?
It's an Alan Brazil answer.
In the answer to the actual question, which was, are we going to get to Wembley this year? I think it's a no. I think we'll do well in the Champions League. I think we'll go on a journey in the Champions League. I could see us qualifying through a group.
Just bear in mind that the final of the Champions League is at Wembley as well.
Is it Wembley? No, we're not going to the final. I think we'll overachieve in the Champions League. I think we'll put a lot of energy in there. I think our league form may suffer a bit. I don't think we get top 4 again. I still think top 6 though would be a great achievement with the stretch squad across the extra competitions. I still think that would be excellent because I agree with Duncan that Chelsea are going to, have got to be better than they were this year. Tottenham have got to be better than they were this year. You've got to believe.
Liverpool.
It may be the most competitive, sort of like for the top 6 that there's ever been, because you've got to add Brighton in there as well because they were excellent last season, although they have a similar issues that they are balancing Europe for the first time. So, and I guess Villa's the same. So it's really tough. I don't think we get the cup because I think there's just too many teams that are going to be better this year. Remember, we only got to that cup final really one good performance all season. And it was against Man City and the trounced Man City. And that was the final Man City didn't get to. And, of course, we got drawn to Southampton next. So we got a bit fortunate. We didn't get Man City in the semi-final. It was Southampton, and Southampton were dreadful. So I think we're a little bit fortunate, a little bit luck. And you don't always get that luck every year in the Cup. So I think, at some point we come up against an Arsenal away or tie or a Man City tie in the cups that knocks you out. So I don't think this year. I think we'll be in finals for years to come. But I just don't think it'll be again next season. So that was a solid no, but it was a long no.
Well, I'm now going to do a quick one. I'm going to go a quick yes because I'm going to support Eddie and the boys. Yeah. I just honestly think that.
You suggest I'm not a real supporter just because they were not going to make it. I'm just realistic.
Yeah, but the realistic thing is, I think Eddie Howe and I think the ownership will want to get a trophy, and they'll probably look at like a Carabao or an FA Cup as their most realistic chance of getting a trophy. And I don't think Eddie Howe will go out and he doesn't play weakened teams. He never does. He might play a rotated team, but it's not a weakened team.
You may have to this time.
But what we'll do is we'll wrap it up there. We'll say thank you to Ian for coming on and telling us United with pride, and fingers crossed for maybe not good weather because looking at the weather forecast. But
oh no, it's gonna be miserable.
better than last Saturday. Should we just put it?
I've got me poncho, me brolly, and me coat, and a spare change of clothes as well, because I'm going to be stuck on the town moor in the miserable weather tomorrow. But hopefully it'll stay dry for the March bit, because that's always the best bit.
Exactly. Well, like I said, thank you for coming on. Thank you for those that have watched there. Obviously, there'll be more that I'll probably watch after, which will be great. And come on the Toon.
How are the lad?